Hello, everyone. Hope you are doing great. And let's start with today's story, titled, I Ghosted a Cheating Ex-Wife. Years later, I married my child's nanny, and now I am now a statistic and a trope. But I am so happy. I really struggled about making this post because my divorce is still a great source of anger at times. Not as much as it used to be, but it really triggers my negative brain. But my therapist told me that it helps to write a journal. My ex-wife and I had a 2-year relationship. We had our son before we married, and I tried really hard to be a good husband and a father. Starting as an introvert meant that I really had to start from scratch, but I can honestly say I did my best to learn. My ex and I were total opposites, and maybe opposites attracted in the beginning, but then we started to butt heads a lot. My ex-wife, I learned, hated to compromise and would use bullying and gaslighting tactics to get her way. She was a spender and wanted to splurge on things because she thought that she deserved it. Looking back, she wasn't really a good mom or wife. She was very self-centered and spent more time on her phone than with me or my son. I took care of everything, including my son's hospital and school, etc., and she didn't want any more responsibility, while I was being burnt out from all the work and responsibilities. The last straw was when she was cheating on me with her ex. Both of us knew that infidelity was not acceptable from the beginning and a deal breaker. As soon as I learned, I knew that I needed to leave or start a fight. So I carefully planned how I was going to leave. I found a house to rent 2 hours away from where we were. I work remotely, so that wasn't an issue. Removed myself from the apartment lease and all of the utilities, removed myself from the joint account that we had, and moved while my wife went to leave for some facial therapy. Before I left with her divorce papers with copies of evidence that I also sent to her family members exactly at the same time the moving company and I left our old apartment. I blocked her on everything I could. Basically, I left everything in 6 hours. After I moved everything into my new place, I was bombarded by texts and calls from her side of the family. Mostly, I got apologies from her cousins since they knew from the beginning what might happen. Her mom apologized a lot, saying that she didn't raise her daughter well, and both her and my ex's aunt begged me to reconsider the divorce. Then I started getting messages of threats and insults from my ex at a different number. I just kept blocking those, but it got so bad that I just got a new phone. The divorce was slightly rough because of my ex. My ex tried to say that I kidnapped my son and tried to sue me. But I presented all the facts, that I was the one solely responsible for everything at home and for our son's health, speech therapy, etc. The judge was surprisingly understanding and said that since I was the primary care provider for my son, he dismissed my ex's claim. And then I present all of the evidence of my ex's infidelity, including all the money she spent. I even got the AP to confess. Long story short, the AP still lived with his parents, and I threatened to sue him for alienation of affection unless he confessed. It was a long shot, but he caved in. Because of all the evidence, I was given almost all of my money. I just had to pay my ex a little bit of alimony for a year since she quit her work. And during custody, I was rewarded primary custody, with my ex getting supervised visitation. She only got that because of all the threatening messages that she sent me. She literally shot herself in the foot. It was so bad for her because I now live 2 hours away from her by car, and she couldn't drive. So she didn't even visit my son for months until she got her cousin to drive her. I really realized how bad it was only after I started living by myself and my son. I felt like a huge weight was off of my shoulders, and I felt at peace with myself. So I decided to make the best of this change. I still worked at home, and because of my son's autism, I was able to get a care provider to care for my son and get an ABA therapist to help with his therapy at home. It was so much better that I can't describe it in words. My ex shifted tactics after a few months of seeing my son, saying that she regretted her actions and wanted to be a better person for me and my son. But I wasn't having it. One time she came with her luggage and tried to move in, but I refused and called the cops. Everything from gaslighting to crying and everything to get her way again, so I told her to never come back. I even got the judge to deny her visitation since she tried to force her way into moving in a few times. She then started love-bombing me with texts. She even got her mom and aunt to help her, but since that was still with my old phone, I just ended up giving it up to a cell phone disposal for a chunk of change. Then about one school year passed, and my son's care provider and I got really close. She was very sweet and gentle, so much different from my ex. She was so helpful and thoughtful and so positive. But she was 11 years younger than me. Back then, I was 30 and she was 19 going to nursing school, so I didn't make any advances. But one day, when my son was down for his nap, she cooked for me a wonderful meal, and we ate together. And she confessed being attracted to me. She told me that she wanted to date me for real. I initially thought that it wasn't going to be that smooth since respite care providers have rules about fraternization and getting close with clients. And the age gap was certainly an issue, but she said that she would quit her provider work if she had to. I told her I needed time to think and process. My divorce really had shattered my desire to date anyone, but I was so attracted to her. So I told her that I would like to do this slowly and properly. And 4 years of dating and her graduating and becoming a full-time nurse, we tied the knot. I learned from my past mistakes and decided to be a much better husband to her. And thanks to her vivaciousness, that wasn't hard to do. My son even calls her mom now. In fact, the first time he did that was when I knew that I had to marry her. And I admit I took the relationship very slowly because I wanted to be careful. Strangely enough, I am still close with my ex's cousins. They are all old school, and while they care for my ex, they respect me even more and always ask about my son and how I am doing. All of them are either firefighters and military, so they don't play. They even invite my family and I to vacation with them. And now the sore portion that still makes me angry, my ex. She somehow found out about my wife a few years back and confronted her at her freaking nurse school. That really scared my now wife, and I nearly punched her when I came to break up the situation. My now wife and I filed more restraining orders against her, and now my ex is now not allowed to be anywhere near my family, even our son. She can only video chat with him now or have supervised visitation in a place of our choosing. After our divorce finalized, she returned back to work and got herself living alone. Over the years, she tried to get her cousins to convince me to help her, but they just straight up refused. Even her mom and aunt gave her up. Our last talk with each other, she told me what she could have done to get me back, and I jokingly said that she would have to join the military to learn some discipline. And she actually did join, only to be kicked out for some disciplinary reason or something. Now she is just passive-aggressive, posting on social media about forgiveness, second chances, and how modern women are victims. And some of her followers actually believe her lies. My current wife told me not to worry about it. She is so kind and understanding, knowing that I have so many trust issues and such. We are planning to have our first child together soon, and I want to do things better this time. I guess the moral of the story that I want to tell every betrayed man is there is always someone who will love and respect you more than your current spouse. Don't settle for anything less. I'm glad you're happy and found someone who loves you. You deserve this. And the update after few months. After the divorce, my ex was a nightmare. We placed her on a restraining order because she tried to attack my wife and she briefly lost visitation rights over our son. Her restraining order is not permanent, however, and she's constantly trying to challenge the restraining order so that she can visit our son. I don't trust her to be anywhere near my son or my family. She threatened my wife several times before marriage and tried to sue me for kidnapping my son when I moved out. She's been missing child support, got kicked out of the military, and recently started an OnlyFans, according to her cousins. She had reached out and said that she will pay all of the due child support and arrears so that she can show me that she is back on her feet. Once I found out that she was on OnlyFans, I told her that I would not allow her near our son. I've been talking to my lawyer for the past few days and asked him what I could do to block her further. He told me that unless she had a history of being violent or neglectful of our son, he couldn't make a claim that she was a threat to my son's safety. Considering that I was the one responsible for his well-being before the divorce, I can't say my son was in danger with her. She literally just gave him the iPad and did her own thing when she had him. I asked him whether that couldn't be considered as neglectful, and he said it was a long shot with that. Then I brought up the history of restraining orders my current wife put on my ex, and he then said that only shows the hostility between the two women, not with my wife and my child. And all this time she's posting on social media that my current wife is neglecting our son, making false claims, and she is constantly saying that because she is a nurse, she's going to cheat on me. I feel like I need to make a permanent restraining order on her so that she stays away from my family. What do you guys recommend? Yeah, she's crazy, but don't deny her the supervised visits granted by the court. And the second update after another month. Today has been a wild day. So today my ex-wife, whom I divorced for cheating on me about 4 years ago, tried to take our son out from his school today when she is not supposed to be within 1,000 feet from my family. The school refused since I had told them in advance that the only person who is allowed to take my son away from school are myself and my current wife. They contacted me, and I bolted to school, where I saw my ex-wife flanked by 2 school security guards. I yell at her that she is not even supposed to be here, and she yells back saying that I have denied her visitation to our son for too long. It gets into a shouting fight between us and the security guards stand between us to stop anything. I call the cops and explain the situation. Meanwhile, my ex says that I don't have to involve the cops, and all she wants is to see our son. The cops come, and now she tries to walk away, only to be caught by the security guards. I explained to the cops that she is my ex and my family, and I put her on a restraining order for trying to force her away into my home, harassing my current wife, and sending threatening messages to our family. This is not her first time violating the restraining order. So the cops arrest her and drag her screaming behind into the car. The cops tell me if I want to press charges. In the heat of the moment, I say I do. I tell him that I want to add attempted kidnapping on top of violating the restraining order. The police also said that they found alcohol in her car and smelled it on her, so I ask them to add public intoxication. Before they go and process her, the police officer asks if I can talk to her by her request. I go, and she is crying at me, saying that if I allowed her to see and meet our son, this wouldn't have happened. And all of that has happened in the past 3 hours. I brought my son from school and am taking the rest of the day off to watch over him. My current wife is coming home soon too. I admit, her crying and screaming at me hit me hard. It's been over a year since she had seen him in person because of the restraining orders. Because of those, I may have not allowed video calls and neglected to send her pictures of our son. Not that I am required to, but a part of me feels that I could have avoided this if I allowed her visitations once in a while. I wonder how desperate she would have to feel to violate her restraining order and risk being arrested. Then I tell myself that there is a difference between seeing our son and taking our son. I go back and forth between that. She will probably be processed and go to prison with a permanently worse criminal on her. I literally made the decision that may destroy her future. Did I go too far? Should I just drop the charges now with a warning? I'm pro-revenge, but isn't this too much? Seems like she isn't right in the head. She needs mental health support. And the final update. So, my ex-wife is now in prison for public indecency, breaking the restraining order, public intoxication, DUI, resisting arrest, along with many others that I didn't know about. She got 5 years. She was arrested a few months ago and couldn't afford to bail or bond herself out. I don't know how that works. She asked me to help her, but I rejected her because it was ridiculous. She then got a public defender who tried hard to reduce her charges to misdemeanor or something, but the judge didn't want to take a chance on her due to her history. She was finally sentenced last month, 5 years in prison, out at the end of 2029. She might get out early for good behavior, but who knows? If I was still angry at her, I would feel satisfied, maybe even euphoric, that karma finally caught up with her. But all I can feel for her is pity. Sure, she put herself in this situation, and all of her actions following the separation and divorce were on her and her alone. This was made more evident for me when I finally visited her in prison through the public defender. She begged to talk to me and my wife one last time. She didn't want our son to come, though, because she didn't want him to remember her in prison. So last week, my wife and I visited her through one of those rooms with the glass and phone. Honestly, she looked better than I had seen her before, probably because she wasn't under influence. After a few introductions and words, my ex apologized to my wife for everything and asked her to watch over her son. Being the angel that she is, my wife accepted and assured her that she has always loved him like her own. After that, my wife left and left me and my ex to talk by ourselves. We talked about how we were doing, and she finally said that she's sorry and that she won't ever bother me again. She is planning to go back to her home country after prison because she can't really do anything with a record. I told her that I wished she would get better, and she said that she can't go lower than what she is now. That's it, I guess. I won't be bothered with her again. I had already ghosted her, divorced her, put a restraining order against her, and removed her from my life before all of this. The finality of this somehow makes me feel hollow, as if all the negative emotion is leaving me because she is not to exist in my life now. I hope she gets the help she needs in prison, and someday be a good mom to her son, wishing peace and strength to you and your family. And next, the second story. Found wife of 9 years in bed with another man after she forgot to pick up our daughter from her cousin's house. I feel like I'm going crazy or something because she's so calm and acting like nothing happened. Yesterday, I was at an event in the morning to celebrate the employees who've worked at the company I own. I have worked hard to provide both my wife and daughter with a better life. We both married young and were raised in a rough neighborhood. We had our daughter young and graduated high school the same year our daughter was born. It was rough at the beginning. I worked a lot and went to school, and maybe in some aspects I neglected her and should have been more present, but when I would also cook, clean, and take my daughter with me as a newborn to school or work. Anyways, yesterday I got a call at this event from my wife's cousin, and she's annoyed because my wife didn't pick up our daughter at the time she said she would. I was surprised because that didn't sound like her, and then immediately drove over to pick up my daughter. Before leaving, I checked my wife's location, and it looked like it was turned off. I brushed it off and thought it was the signal messing up because our area doesn't always have the best since it's tucked in the hills. My daughter was tired, so when we got home, she went straight to bed. I went upstairs and heard another man's voice, and my heart sank to my stomach. When I opened the door, I saw both of them. It looked like they were trying to hide under the bed but failed. I threw him out the house quietly so my daughter wouldn't see. Since then, I've been sleeping in the guest room. My wife says that I'd be stupid to file for a divorce because our daughter would see me as a deadbeat who left her and her mom, and that I worked too much and it's my fault she was with that man. I mean, I think she's partially right. I have always worked a lot, and this month was so hectic that we haven't been intimate, but it's always been for her and for our family. I'm just so torn. It's driving me crazy that she keeps on saying that I'm overreacting and that this kind of thing is normal in marriage, and I don't know. This kind of thing never crossed my mind. And the small update, thank you everyone for the love and advice this post got. I'm talking to lawyers. She is being kicked out, and I'm keeping custody of my daughter. No, this is not normal. She's gaslighting you. Good, you're already preparing for divorce. And that's it for today. Dear viewers, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss out. See you next time. Bye-bye.